Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
Screening at the Newport Beach Film Festival, a film that was entirely shot in Oman, which this is the first time it's ever happened. I am speaking with the writers and directors today, Seanne Winslow and Adam Sjoberg. I got that right. The J is pronounced S as an H, and Adam told me how to do it, about their new movie, The Falconer. Congratulations on the film. How are you both doing today?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, RC. It's a huge joy to be on your show. So thanks for having us.
Please, it's my thrill. I get to go to the Newport Beach Film Festival. I get to meet filmmakers that I haven't made any filmmakers yet. I don't have any kids, but I get to meet filmmakers that are making films that are worth watching. This is a lot of fun. The fact that this is the first Western film entirely shot in Oman is a huge feather in your cap. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You know, how did you guys find the story of these two friends that we're not gonna blow the film too much, but work in a zoo and do some unsavory things to help somebody out that needs saving?
Well, we found this story about 10 years ago. I was traveling in Yemen, which is right next door to Oman, back in 2011. And I was there actually for a different film, a film about breakdancing, funnily enough. But I met this like 14-year-old kid who was American, Italian, had grown up in Yemen. And even though he spoke perfect Arabic, looked like a fish out of water. He looked like he would make more sense in Venice Beach, California than in Sana'a, Yemen, which is a very, conservative Muslim country. But he just had this best friend, and the two of them worked at this zoo together. And his friend's family got into a situation where they needed help and needed to get out of it. And the reality is, in different parts of the world, things are morally complex, and they get themselves into some morally complex situations, stealing animals from this zoo in order to try and help Tariq get out of this situation. So I met the original characters of this story while this was ongoing. They were in the middle of it. And only a little bit later down the road, when there was a kind of happy conclusion to what was going on, did I say, hey, would you let me and my friend Shauna make a movie about this? And the rest is history.
I don't know if you guys are Canadian or American. We have a similar accent, so you guys could be one or the other. But in the United States, we have this thing called jury nullification, where if we believe the law isn't just, the jury can vote down the law. And so in moral situations like going on with this, especially with Tariq and everything, there is the moral implication of being unlawful, but the morality justifies the unlawful behavior. So it's kind of that aspect.
Yeah. I think for us that really, I grew up in Germany and spent time in the Middle East as a teenager. And for us, really, this is an exploration of our friendships with people around the world, and really like going in depth to that experience of sometimes being the person that's privileged and can come and go. And so it really is honoring those different stories and different complexities around the world. And I mean, I think we have those same moral complexities here as well. It's just they seem normal for us. It's like, oh, I'm going to make this compromise in order to do this thing. That we're used to them. They like aren't quite as apparent as like Tariq making the choices that he has to make to save his sister.
The interesting thing is you guys use a lot of natural light in the film. I wanted to touch on Tariq's sister and the situation that she's in, but I'm not going to ruin the movie for everybody because we want them to see it.
Thank you.
Remember, Friday, October 22nd at 5 p.m. at the Starlight Triangle Cinema in Costa Mesa. It's on the corner of Harbor and 19th. If you haven't been, it used to be known as the Triangle Square. Now it's called the Triangle. So this is a fun theater. They cleaned it up. Everything's really nice. It's going to be a good time. This movie is just under 2 hours, and yet doesn't feel that aspect of it, because at times you get lost in the landscape of Oman and seeing the way the sun reflects off the sand in certain areas or off the water on the coast. And it just has this beautiful natural light. When you make a picture like this, how difficult is it to want to find the balance between using the natural lighting in the setting that you're in versus creating the lights and those situations?
Well, we had such an amazing camera department. It was very small, 6 people really, and they were very nimble. You know, part of it is when you're working on a smaller film, sometimes the limitations help you, you know, be a little bit adventurous. We worked mostly with natural light, although our camera department did such an excellent job adding to that wherever necessary. But all along, we wanted this film to be a love song to this region. You know, the Middle East is a place as a whole is a place that has been, and the broader region around it has often been painted in broad, you know, negative stereotypes, and we didn't want to do that. Also, it's a region as big as the United States and more diverse. Like, you know, Yemen is not Oman, which is right next door. So we wanted it to be very firmly grounded in Oman, but we wanted to highlight this place. We wanted people to feel like they were getting lost in a place that they hadn't been to and maybe had misunderstood. And our DP, Nick Bupp, did such an excellent job of rising to that occasion.
I think the other thing that kind of one of the directions that we kept giving was, let's use light to paint in the corners that like aren't reached by natural light. So, or highlight the natural like environment that already exists. There's a scene in the movie where the 2 boys are having a conversation in kind of the shack, and there are these donkeys running through the background. It's like kind of an amazing like moment in the movie. And that's like one where there was like an actual street light, but we really wanted to like elevate that scene and like add to it. And so we painted in that addition, but it was based on something that was already there. So we really like, I think one of the things that we both really reach for in our directing is to heighten those like fairy tale moments through artistic license, but really use the real story, but also the real place as a starting point.
Well, you know, I do have to mention this is a huge departure from animation, and especially the Lego film that you worked on, to want to tell such a real story that, you know, is somewhat biographical, because you have to take liberties. You can't tell the full story A to Z the way they actually lived it. I mean, for dramatic purposes, there has to be some changes. When they saw the final product and saw the film that you made about their lives, what were their reactions to it? And especially Tariq's sister, like, how did she feel about it?
Yeah, you know, I think we had both the real life Tariq and the real life Cai on set for most of the filming. The real life Cai was our animal wrangler. He's since gone on to train 86 falcons. So he actually was working with our falcon on set the entire time. And it was really important to us that this wasn't ever a story kind of about their life, but that it was a story that was authentically from their life and from that place. And, you know, the real life Alia, we've had to do a lot to protect her identity just because of like, she's happily remarried. But so I think that character in the movie is a composite character in a lot of ways, that really represents a lot of women that have been in that situation, some of whom we're friends with and close to. And I think one of the people kind of in that vein of people that were seen and represented in that character is actually is Noor, who plays that character. She was just a hugely additive piece in telling that story of a really strong, empowered woman. She's an actress in Oman, and she just really brought so much to that role, and actually helped us craft some of the scenes, like the scene where she talks about what's going on. I just remembered that. I'm not going to ruin the movie for people. When she talks about what's going on to her father and to her brother and kind of finally comes clean, that's a scene that Noor wrote with us. Is we'd written, you know, dozens of versions of that scene, workshopped it with other women from a similar background, and worked on it. Yes, but ultimately the words that she says are words that she helped us write, based on her own journey. So I hope that Alia, the story of Alia, really is represented by the women that worked with us on this film.
Well,
And
you
just
did
to put a
sorry, go ahead.
quick button on that, it's always nerve wracking whenever you make, whether it's a documentary or based on a true story narrative film, it's always nerve wracking to show a film for the first time to the people who are in it. And luckily, everyone really loved the movie. I think they were delighted in the ways that it was really true to their experience, and they were delighted in the ways that we took artistic licenses and made it our own too. So
Yeah.
it was really fun. It was a really fun process to work so closely with the original character of the story.
Right. It's not like Eddie the Eagle about the British ski jumper that had no chance that made it, and then they created an entire fictional character that was his coach. I mean, added to the story, but that was like, really, this guy was nowhere near in real life, and he just inserted it in the film. But you guys try to keep it as true as possible, and of course, there's poetic licensing here and there. But you didn't create characters out of the blue and go, oh my God, there's so and so who's now their sheikh that's coming in, and we're throwing them in the film just because.
Yeah.
I do think that there is some artistic license that we took, particularly with the towards the end of the movie in the third act. There is some stuff, particularly the conflict in that is that's created. Like, these two young men have been friends their whole lives. They still talk on Zoom every week. It was one of the best parts of making the movie was being able to reunite them for the first time since Cai left. They haven't been able to see each other because of the war in Yemen. And but just to call out that conflict that happens is not true to real life. Their friendship is.
Yeah, I mean, what the conflict that we create in the movie between them and their friendship is true to real life, in the sense that it's what we all deal with when we have international friendships, and there are complications, and there are borders, and there are skin tone differences, and differences in amount of privilege. And that's what we really wanted to communicate through the personal conflict of this friendship. Is not something that one moment or one argument the two of them have, but certainly Cai and Tariq in real life have to navigate those complicated borders of, one of them has an American passport and one of them has a Yemeni passport. Arguably a Yemeni passport logistically is one of the worst passports you can have. I mean, there was for 4 years under the previous administration, there was a ban, just period, on being Yemeni and coming to the United States. So what we really wanted to show was that difference. And it's a lot softer in our movie. We really tried to make it softer because we wanted it to be, we also wanted to make it a love song to this region and not sort of get stuck in the mud on some of these things, but it's there through their conflict.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that my family's from the Middle East, I'll tell you why tomorrow night, completely off the record, as to a reason for the Yemeni thing that people don't shine the light on here in the Western world. And it is very political, and it's not just administration based, but the way things are and how they've become, and the unfolding of this film, the narrative in itself, it's, we tend to always, for some reason, in the last 5 to 10 years, we've tend to sexualize same gender friendships and have this, this strange undertone of sexual either repression or exploration through the friendships. And you actually just tell a story of two international friends being friends. And I think that's been lost in filmmaking the last 5 to 10 years. So I want to commend you on that, because you let the kids be kids. And I think people forget that at 14, yes, your hormones are raging, but there's still that childlike innocence in there as well.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. I think honestly, in some ways it's a testament to Adam and my friendship as well. Like, I think that people want to rush. Like, I think that it's just like to have real friends that matter in the world is just so important. And I think that in a lot of ways, this is us also honoring friendship as a virtue and as a way to be in the world. And so thank you for seeing that. I think that was really important to us.
I think Seanne and I, neither of us, we're very, very different in a lot of ways, but, ways in which we are similar, and why this movie is so both of us is, first of all, I think we are both really we have a childlike wonder, I guess. Like, we kind of approach the world, when we got to Oman and we were still trying to location scout, we were rewriting certain elements towards the adventures that we were going on location scouting, and we were adding extra little characters here and there based on, people we were meeting. So I think that's there. And then I think also, Shauna and I are not at our core, and Shauna, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but neither of us are provocateurs. We're not trying to be shocking. And I think have experienced really innocent and lovely global friendships. So I think where, this movie, could have felt saccharine, I think it doesn't, because of the fact that it's so authentically a real story based on real people, and more broadly based on real kinds of friendships like Shauna and I have had in places around the world.
If there's one thing that you want the audience to get on Friday, October 22nd at 5 p.m. at the Triangle in Costa Mesa, California for the Newport Beach Film Festival, got to keep plugging that. What do you want the general audience that's coming in a very affluent area of Orange County to pick up on this story? Because we do have a large Middle Eastern population in Orange County as well.
I think, I hope this doesn't sound too broad, but I just want everyone right now in the kind of era that we're living in to be more curious and to be better listeners, and to know that whatever perspective you have is not the only perspective. And one of the themes of this movie is one of the story of Cai, the Westerner that lives in Oman, is he's very well-meaning, but he just doesn't always see past his own interpretation of things. And I think that across the political spectrum, across belief systems in America, we could all use a dose of learning how to just be better listeners. And that's what I would want people to take away.
Yeah, I would say kindness. I think that we both truly believe that stories have the ability to heal or to harm. And I think that when one traffics in kind of broad stereotypes, it can cause a lot of harm. And I think that this movie is a movie that I hope heals in a certain way, on a certain level, and that I think we approached it with a level of kindness, and it's an invitation to the audience to come on a journey with us into a place in the world that maybe you haven't ever been to, and experience an incredible landscape and a really unique friendship through our eyes. And so in some ways, we're just inviting you to come on an adventure with us that we had the privilege of going on. So I think, yeah, just an adventure that's kind of laced with kindness.
I dig it. Congratulations on the film. Where can we find you both on social media if we want to connect with you and if we want to connect with the Falconer? For those of you not in Newport Beach, it's also showing this week at Austin Film Festival and I believe BendFilm Festival.
We actually just won Best Narrative Feature at Bend, and we run Best Premiere at Heartland. So those, luckily, thanks, we're very grateful for that. But those festivals are wrapped. So we're headed into, on Saturday, we're showing at Austin, and then we're showing at Savannah at SCAD on Wednesday, and then at St. Louis, but I don't have a date.
And also at St. Louis, which I just found out St. Louis, they have a streaming component. So if you don't live near St. Louis, you can also stream it from the state of Illinois and from the state of Missouri, apparently.
There you go.
All right. So you got options to see the Falconer before it gets its distribution release ahead of time. But right now, again, we're focusing on Newport because we're here this weekend. So that's the important thing with this. But if you're in Austin or St. Louis or any of those other places, go check them out. Congratulations on winning Best Narrative at Bend. I'm sorry, was it Heartland or Bend?
Bend
and Heartland.
So
one of them both. So congratulations. Now you got to make more shelf space behind you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and it's Shauna, it's SEANNE.Winslow for my Instagram.
And I'm Adam.D.Sjoberg. My last name is Sjoberg. It's Swedish. So
and those are both at Instagram.
At Instagram. That's the best way to follow us right now.
Perfect, because we don't want to argue with you about politics on Twitter, because that's what it's designed for at this point.
Yeah.
No. Have a great one. Thank you so much, RC.
Yeah, thanks, RC.
And one final plug. Remember, Friday, October 22nd, 5 p.m. at the Starlight Triangle Cinemas in Costa Mesa. Go out and check out this film. It's well worth the watch. Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.